Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most incredible stories from ancient Roma, tale of defiance, courage, and a fight for freedom that shook an empire to its very core. We're talking about Spartacus and the Third Servile War. Now, who was Spartacus? The truth is, we know surprisingly little about his early life. Ancient historians like Appian and Plutarch tell us he was a Thracian, possibly a former soldier in the Roman army who was later enslaved. What we do know for sure is where his legendary story begins, in the city of Capua at a gladiatorial school, or ludus, owned by a man named Lentulus Batiatus. Life for a gladiator was brutal. They were slaves, forced to fight and die for the entertainment of others. Their living conditions were harsh, their training was relentless, and their future was almost always a bloody death in the arena. But inside this school of death, a spark of rebellion was about to ignite. Spartacus, along with two Gallic gladiators named Crixus and Enemos, wasn't content to accept his fate. They began to plot. In 73 BC, their plan was set in motion. The initial plot was discovered, but it was too late. Spartacus and about 70 other gladiators fought their way out of the school, using kitchen utensils, niv spits, whatever they could grab. Once outside, they managed to seize a wagon full of gladiatorial weapons and armor. They were free, but they were also fugitives in the heart of Roman territory. They fled to the slopes of Mount Vesuvius, the very same volcano that would later bury Pompeii. From this natural fortress, they began to attract other runaway slaves, shepherds, farmhands, and anyone desperate enough to risk everything for a taste of freedom flocked to their banner. This small band of gladiators was quickly growing into a formidable army of the oppressed. Rome at first didn't take them seriously. They saw this as a minor problem, just another small-scale slave uprising that would be quickly crushed. They sent a praetor named Gaius Claudius Glaber with a militia of about 3,000 men. Glaber didn't even bother building a proper fortified camp. He simply blocked the only known path down Vesuvius, planning to starve the rebels into submission. But Spartacus was a brilliant and unconventional military strategist. He ordered his men to gather wild vines growing on the slopes of the volcano and weave them into sturdy ladders. Under the cover of darkness, Spartacus and his forces rappelled down a sheer cliff face on the opposite side of the mountain. They silently circled around the Roman camp and launched a surprise attack. Glaber's militia was completely unprepared and was utterly routed. It was a stunning victory that sent a shockwave through Rome. This victory was a game-changer. The rebels captured Roman military equipment, giving them proper weapons and armor. More importantly, the news of their success spread like wildfire, and their numbers swelled dramatically. Historians estimate their army grew to as many as 70,000 people. This was no longer a small band of fugitives. It was a full-blown slave army on the march. Rome was forced to take the threat seriously now. They sent two consular armies, led by Lucius Gellius Publicola and Gnaeus Cornelius Lentulus Clodionus. At this point, the rebel army had split. Crixus, one of the original leaders, had separated from Spartacus with about 30,000 men, mostly Gauls and Germans. Why they split is a matter of debate. Some historians believe Crixus wanted to stay in Italy and continue to plunder, while Spartacus wanted to lead his people north, over the Alps, and back to their homelands. Tragically, this division proved fatal for Crixus. His forces were cornered and defeated by Gellius near Mount Garganus. Crixus himself was killed in the battle. Spartacus, hearing the news, was determined to avenge his fallen comrade. In an incredible display of tactical genius, he separately engaged and defeated the armies of both Lentulus and Gellius. To honor Crixus, Spartacus then forced 300 Roman prisoners to fight to the death as gladiators, a grim and ironic reversal of roles. With southern Italy cleared of Roman armies, Spartacus marched his massive force north. His goal seemed clear: escape Italy. He fought his way up the peninsula, defeating another Roman army in the Cisalpine Gaul region, near modern-day Modena. The path to the Alps was open. Freedom was within their grasp. But then something strange happened. For reasons that historians still debate to this day, Spartacus turned back. Why did his followers, flushed with victory, refuse to leave Italy, preferring to continue plundering its riches? Did Spartacus believe he could actually march on Rome itself? We may never know for sure, but they turned around and headed south again. By now, Rome was in a state of full-blown panic. The Senate, desperate for a commander who could end this crisis, turned to one man, Marcus Licinius Crassus. Crassus was the wealthiest man in Rome, and he was hungry for military glory. He was given command of 8 legions, over 40,000 highly trained professional Roman soldiers. Crassus was a ruthless and disciplined commander. When one of his legions was defeated in an early engagement, he revived an ancient and brutal form of punishment, decimation. He had the cohort that broke rank divided into groups of 10, and each group drew lots. The unlucky soldier who drew the short straw was then beaten to death by his own 9 comrades. The message was clear: you will fear the enemy, but you will fear me more. Spartacus, now facing Crassus's revitalized and terrified army, continued south, eventually reaching the toe of Italy in the region of Rhegium. His plan was to cross the Strait of Messina into Sicily, hoping to ignite another slave revolt there and find more recruits. He even made a deal with Cilician pirates to transport his army across the water. But the pirates betrayed him. They took his payment and sailed away, leaving Spartacus and his army stranded. To make matters worse, Crassus was right behind them. He constructed a massive wall and ditch nearly 50 kilometers long across the peninsula of Briccium, trapping the rebel army. For a while, it seemed like the end. Winter was setting in. Supplies were low, and they were completely boxed in. But Spartacus wasn't done yet. On a stormy, snowy night, he launched another daring effort. His men filled a section of the ditch with earth, wood, and even the bodies of prisoners and cattle, creating a bridge. Under the cover of the storm, Spartacus and a large portion of his army managed to break through Crassus' lines and escape the trap. Despite this incredible escape, the rebel army was beginning to fracture again. 2 of Spartacus's subordinate commanders broke away with their own forces, and they were soon tracked down and destroyed by Crassus. Spartacus's remaining force was now cornered in southern Italy in 71 BC. The final battle, known as the Battle of the Sila River, was at hand. Plutarch tells us that when Spartacus was brought his horse before the battle, he drew his sword and killed it, saying, "If I am victorious, I will have many better horses from the enemy, but if I am defeated, I will have no need of this one." He was determined to win or die fighting alongside his men. The battle was ferocious. The slaves, though outnumbered and outmatched, fought with the courage of desperation. Spartacus himself tried to fight his way through the chaos to kill Crassus personally. He cut down 2 centurions in his path, but was ultimately surrounded and overwhelmed. He fought to the very end, but eventually he fell. His body was never identified. The defeat was absolute. The rebellion was crushed. Crassus, to make a terrifying example, crucified 6,000 captured slaves along the Appian Way, the main road leading from Capua all the way to Rome. For miles and miles, the road was lined with crosses, a gruesome warning to any other slaves who might dare to dream of freedom, and so ended the story of Spartacus. Though he was defeated, his legacy endured. He became a symbol of the oppressed, fighting back against tyranny, a figure of inspiration for rebels and revolutionaries for centuries to come. His 2-year-long rebellion challenged the might of Rome in a way few ever had, proving that even a small group of determined people, fighting for a just cause, could shake the foundations of the world's greatest empire. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient history, make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let me know in the comments what historical event you'd like to see me cover next. See you in the next video.